Hi, everyone. Welcome to Emmy Action Presents the Writing from our Emmy Live Salon. So very excited to be doing this salon. It is kind of our third artist salon. We started with One in Millions Missing. We did a writer's salon in December, or sorry, a winter's salon in December, and now we're doing this writing salon this month. And so we're just so excited to have all of you joining. Really quick, some quick housekeeping kind of notes. This is being recorded, so if you just jumped on, this is being recorded. So if you want to turn your camera off, you're more than welcome to. Also, if you can make sure your mute button is hit, that'd be great. We want to make sure that everyone is able to be heard pretty clearly as they're sharing. I will also be trying to monitor the mute buttons as we go through. We will be offering time for a discussion. At that point, you can unmute, and if you want to turn your camera on, you're more than welcome to. But also the chat box is a great way to show your support and your love of the work, so feel free to use the chat box as we continue. So this kind of salon came together because Bobby, who I'm sure quite a few of you know in the community, she came to us with an idea for a writing group. And I think it was almost about a year ago that the group started. And so, Bobby, I want to introduce you and have you speak a little bit about the group and what it's kind of been, and then we can get going into the actual presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bobby Alsabel. I'm the mother of a daughter who has ME for the past 30 years. I facilitate the writing group, and Linda Carter assists me very well. Pillow Writers meets weekly online on the Emmy Action platform for the past 1 year, and the group is confidential. What comes up stays in the room only. My plan in setting up the group with Erin's support was to start the group and then disappear. However, the discussions are so rich and the people so full of interesting thoughts and writings that I would not miss a meeting. It's been said, since people with ME cannot easily access the outside world and are leading quiet lives, they access the inner world more readily. I think that may be true. See for yourself. This is our first public showcase. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bobby. And our first presenter is Una. So if you want to unmute.
Just brought up my piece on the screen and I almost forgot to unmute. Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Una Hearn. I live in Ireland. I am a life coach and I used to run personal development courses, which I miss like breathing. I also write a blog with tips and wisdom, which I hope helps people to live as authentically as possible. And I'm so grateful to be part of this fabulous group. They're an amazing bunch. So my first piece, I'm going to read half of this. The full one is on our website and it's Ghost Girl. Just in the door from my weekly expedition to the shop, glance at the mirror. There she is, Ghost Girl, so pale, with those dark rings under her eyes. I manifest in the outside world a few times a week, the shopping, Zoom with friends or clients, and an occasional actual social meetup. I feel real when I interact with other people. I must be. Otherwise, they're talking to themselves or imagining me. After a couple of hours hard manifesting, I vanish from the world again, disappearing into my teeny lovely cottage. Thereafter, I am prostrate on couch or in bed, able to do little or nothing, often unable to think. I can't think, therefore I am not. Do I exist? If no one sees you, are you really there? Lying there, my consciousness is free to roam. And roam it does while my body stays at home, inert. Is this living? When it can, my mind roams, observes, travels, thinks, creates, learns, amuses itself, lives vicariously through others. Without a body to live my life with, I am an insubstantial present, a wisp of humanity, essentially spirit. Beautiful dreams form in my mind, a million ideas of what I could create in the world. I have no means to live these dreams. I simply weave them into exquisite works of art and let them go on a breath of air. I hope they land in someone who can use them. Is imagination a gift or a burden? The price of my dazzling dreams is acceptance that most will never exist outside my mind. Do I mind? Yes, I mind. Yet I wouldn't surrender it. My imagination is my comfort and my torment, a reason I wish to live and a reason I wish to die. I've always thought an important life skill is the ability to hold a paradox with ease. After an hour's rest, I heave myself off the couch to get something to eat, and then back to the couch again with Complan and a buttered roll. I wander on. If I can't work or do anything useful for anyone, what exactly is the point of my life? It might be easier if I believed in a God, if I believed he has a plan. I do have spiritual beliefs. Chief amongst them is that we can never know why we are here. There may or may not be a reason, purpose, meaning, God, gods, nothing. This philosophy has always provided me the freedom to choose my own purpose and divine my own meaning. Being a practical little soul, I have always chosen to believe that we are here to be the best and wildest expression of the unique human that we are. I have also chosen to believe that our quality of life is far more dependent on our attitude and choices than on our circumstances, and this is what I teach. When I relapsed badly with ME 5 years ago, it felt like life was throwing down a gauntlet. That's what you believe, is it? Okay, baby girl, now prove it. So I did. I learned acceptance, albeit reluctantly and without grace. More like a 5-year-old stomping around in a temper, actually. Still, I choose to accept my incapacity, this illness, every day. I count my blessings, my home, my garden, my friends, the little work I can still do. Above all, my independence. I focus on what I can do and small joys, not on what I've lost. Most days, I have a good quality of life. Most days, I know I am of value just because I am. I even explore what might be opening up for me through this experience. My spiritual path has certainly broadened and deepened. Most days, I choose happy.
Oh,
Will I go straight ahead, Erin, with the second?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Need some water first. Okay, so this is a poem called Untopia. Mine's a path that's now well trod. It's not the straight and narrow sod. It's funny, no matter what is in the brew, there's nothing anyone can do. The straight and narrow's not for me. My mind insists on being free. Perhaps unhinged's a better word. Or flighty, flitty, like a bird, scaling heights with ease and grace. I've yet to find a better place than the universe inside my head, which with reality is fed. Then twist and shape and bend and fold, and now a pretty world behold. Utopia is not a myth, and everyone can look for it within themselves in deep still pool, where both the wise man and the fool have seen and told and taken scorn, and yet within have been reborn.
Thank you so much.
Do it. Will I read it again? We generally read poems twice. Don't know if we have time though.
We have put down that you guys can read them twice, so feel free. But yeah, go ahead.
Does everybody want it again? Okay. You're just being kind, I know. All right, Untopia. Mine's a path that's now well trod. It's not the straight and narrow sod. Funny, no matter what is in the brew, there's nothing anyone can do. The straight and narrow is not for me. My mind insists on being free. Perhaps unhinged's a better word. Or flighty, flitty, like a bird. Scaling heights with ease and grace. I've yet to find a better place than the universe inside my head, which with reality is fed, then twist and shape and bend and fold, and now a pretty world behold. Utopia is not a myth, and everyone can look for it within themselves in deep still pool, where both the wise man and the fool have seen and told and taken scorn, and yet within been reborn.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
So much. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you get a chance to read the comments in the chat because they're absolutely moving. So many saying how much it resonates with them, that you should have your story in a book. So definitely keep reading those things, and thank you all for your wonderful comments, and Una for participating. I know you are, I think, in Ireland, so you were up late to share tonight. So appreciate it, making this time for us. Alrighty, next to
quick. I hate to interrupt, Erin. Will these be posted somewhere so we can read them again?
We haven't discussed that yet as a group, but we can look at doing something like that. So
thank you. Sorry to interrupt. It's hard for me to type right now, so thank you.
No worries. No problem. Thank you. All right. Our next presenter is Emma Parsons. I know she is on, so I'm actually going to play a video that Emma sent to us. So give me a few seconds as I hit play.
Hello, everybody. My name's Emma, and I've been a member of the delightful Pillar Writers Group from about a year. I've had post-viral ME since about 2009. I'm 55, and I live just outside London, England, in a house that's about 120 years old. One of the first prompts that I got when I joined Pillar Writers made me think about the first woman who would have lived in this house, how she too would have been confined within its walls, certainly within the village, how she wouldn't have travelled, she wouldn't have done things, and this house would have been her world. And I thought of the difference between me and her, and I thought about how happy and thrilled she would have been to be living in this house out in the country, away from the dirt of London, and how content she would have been to be trapped within this house in the same way that I am. This led me to write a piece about the adorable Lily Jones, who became a real person in my head, and I imagined her living here just like I do. Thanks to the encouragement of the Pillar Writers Group, I now write a little bit about the fictional residents of Edwardian Engleford Green every week. It's a utopian novel where everything is lovely, except that in 1913, the suffragettes burned down the local stately home. Now that is something that actually did, although Engleford Green is a fictional place, the burning of the Baron's house is actually something that took place in the village I live in. And I think about all the women that may have done it and what their reasons for it may have been. I'm not going to read a bit from that book, but because I'm not sure a bit taken out of context would make much sense. So instead, I'm going to introduce you to the lovely Agatha Pettigrew, who is an Edwardian resident of the fictional Engleford Green and is speaking to you the day after the suffragettes' fire. So here we go.
Oh, my dear. But surely you don't mean to tell me you haven't heard? Our very own scandal, here in Engleford Green. The suffragettes burnt down Chalfont Hall. My William's been there all night. He says the Baron is absolutely furious. Understandable, I suppose, it is his home. You should have heard William this morning.
Damn stupid women! This is why they must never get the vote.
Oh, no, William does not like the suffragettes. He says women should not be given the vote. He says women do not have the right kind of analytical minds for politics. Perhaps he's right. Anyway, William is back with the Baron now, but he was very informative when he popped home for breakfast. He said the police have found several suffragette leaflets in the grounds. Leaflets printed in Bethnal Green. Votes for women, that sort of thing. William said I wasn't to worry. William, I said, William dear, I think you have more to fear from the suffragettes than do I. He didn't laugh. I know William said I wasn't to worry, but there is just one little thing that is, well, not worrying me exactly, but troubling me. You see, last week I was talking to the station master's wife. We were talking about how she and the station master manage their domestic life around the trains, you know. And she said, and I distinctly remember her saying this, that after the last train, she and the station master have a cup of cocoa and then straight up to bed at 10 o'clock sharp, so that they can be up bright and early for the first train in the morning. 10 o'clock sharp, she said. So you see, the suffragettes can't possibly have taken the last train back to London, because according to William, the fire wasn't started until after midnight. Well, I thought, gosh, if they didn't go back to London, they must have stayed here in the village, mustn't they? And then I thought, perhaps they stayed with somebody who had connections to Bethnal Green. And then I thought if I wanted to know who had connections with Bethnal Green, I would ask the postman, Mr. Norris. William, I said, William, has anybody thought to ask Mr. Norris about Bethnal Green? William told me not to chatter so much. Far better minds than mine were working on the problem, and I wasn't to think about it any more. But somehow I couldn't quite let it go. And so later this morning, when Mr. Norris himself came, I said, "Oh, Mr. Norris," I said. "Yes, ma'am." "Well, Mr. Norris, of course, you've heard about the suffragettes." "Whole village talking and nothing else, ma'am." "Quite," I said, "Mr. Norris, quite." "And Mr. Norris." "Yes, ma'am." "Well, Mr. Norris, I was wondering if anybody had thought to ask you yet." "Ask me, ma'am." "Yes, Mr. Norris, if anybody had thought to ask you who in the village has links to Bethnal Green." "No, ma'am, I can't say as they have." "And if they did, Mr. Norris?" "If they did what, ma'am?" "If they did ask you if anybody in the village had links to Bethnal Green, what would you say?" "Well, ma'am, I would have to say as I don't rightly recall." "Good for you, Mr. Norris," I said, and I gave him a conspiratorial wink. "I don't know what you mean, ma'am," he said. But he winked back, so I think he did. Because, of course, as he knows, and I know, and he knows that I know, both he and I do know somebody here in the village from Bethnal Green. Young Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Jones. Such a lovely, lovely young married couple. They moved here last year from Bethnal Green, where they grew up, where they met, where they married. Such an adorable young couple. So in love. I suppose I should tell William. Well, you know, about how the suffragettes couldn't have taken the last train, and how young Mr. and Mrs. Jones come from Bethnal Green. But do you know, that man, he has such a fine, fine, analytical mind. I'm sure he'll work it out for himself. Eventually.
So wonderful, Emma. Thank you so much, Emma, for submitting that video and also the production design that went into it. It is absolutely amazing. I think, Emma, you are on, so hopefully you're getting a chance to see the chat fill up with love. Oh, someone said Oscar worthy. So, I mean, I always feel that way after our artist events, that everyone has such amazing skill sets. So thank you so much, Emma, for your short story. Our next presenter is Gwen. So I will let you take it away, Gwen.
Wasn't that astonishing, everybody? Ooh, just dazzling. I'm afraid I come with a different accent and a different tone. My accent is just from Connecticut. And we are going to change tone now. My name is Gwen Dujardin. I live in Annapolis, Maryland now. I've had ME since 2015 when I was working as an English professor in Canada. I'm writing a book on the cultural history of energy, fatigue, and rest to help account for the toxic beliefs that allow disbelief in our illness. Today, however, I'll be reading a poem that was inspired by a colonoscopy appointment this summer, in which I was mistreated in ways that many of us have been mistreated in medical spaces. I'd like to take a beat to offer a content warning to anyone who has experienced medical trauma and who has sensitivity in that area, to know that there have been times when I've read this poem and it is brought out emotion. So please take care of yourself. It gives voice to a lot of things we would like to say in these places. And while I'm giving voice to those voices, I consider it anonymous and from all of us. And I would like to hold a special place for the Black, Indigenous, and people of color who have especially experienced trauma in medical spaces. The name of the poem is Behind the Curtain. If I could move, I wouldn't be here. If I could speak to you, I'd scream. But my symptoms inconvenience you, so I'm the one to blame. What do you mean you can't move? You bark, as though I play dead just to tease you. If you could look beyond your needs, you'd see the living death I'm experiencing. Instead, you hide behind the curtain, supposed to give me patient privacy. No one hears you when you hiss, "We need this bed. There's nothing wrong with you. You are wasting everyone's time." I am wasting, that's for sure. My body, my mind, my life. Weak, in pain, in fog, alone, at home, where healthcare won't provide. I feel as feral as you see me because my body no longer works as planned. Blood flows freely to your brain and organs whenever you think or stand. You feel tired after a full shift, but feel refreshed again the next day. You aren't confused, at least not how I am. I am a wounded animal, out for blood to reach my brain. What makes us both human? Standing walking, thinking, makes me vomit, collapse, and strain. I cannot move because I cannot move. I cannot speak because the lights, the sounds, your yelling, attack my senses, inflict more pain. Trust me when I say I want to give up the bed every day of this chronic life. Trust me too when I ask for things I need. Simple items like IV fluids, a blanket, no lights. Small comforts you'd rush to give someone with another kind of tragic disease. Chances are you suffer too from a system where you're told, just push through, you're being emotional. What you're feeling is all in your head. I am not here to torment you, but am plagued by an illness that doctors call a sick cry for attention. Just because they prescribe heaping doses of contempt does not mean I'm not owed your compassion. We are fellow travelers here and both want the same thing, for me to get out of this bed. So instead of hiding behind the curtain to yell when you are feeling rushed and stressed, please sit with me on my bed for a moment. I'll tell you a secret. It's okay with me if you need to rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gwen. We really, really appreciate your story, and there is a lot of beautiful comments in the chat supporting your story and your poem. So hopefully you get a chance to read them all. And thank you for participating in the Pella Writers, and also for sharing that content warning before. So acknowledging that is also very wonderful. All right. Well, we have had 3 people speak and present, and also 1 video. So we are going to open it up for a little bit of a discussion. This discussion is about, we've scheduled it for about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you are interested, I know there's a lot of talk in the chat, but if you have a question for one of the presenters or a comment that you want to share with them, this is the time to do this. I know there's quite a few of us on here, so trying to get through every single person's thing may not fit within our time frame. But if you have a specific thing that you want to say that you haven't said in the chat yet, or you have a specific question you'd like to hear directly back from one of the presenters, this would be the opportunity. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask, that is great, and then hopefully those who are presenting can answer or join in. But I'll take a time limit, so we have about we'll go to about 1:42. That's my time. Sorry, I am Mountain Time, so 12:42, 3:42 for the rest of it. So go ahead. And so just to clarify, we had 3 people present. We had Una, who wrote a short story called Ghost Girl, and then also wrote the poem called Utopia. And then Emma shared her story about the suffragettes in England. And then Gwen read her poem called Behind the Curtain. So just wanted to make sure everyone had a reminder of what those were. Go ahead for questions.
Erin, can I just ask, can we switch the view so it's more gallery than speaker? Because otherwise, those who would be answering questions, we can't see anybody. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, everyone can do that for themselves by selecting it, but I will also try to apply to everybody. Alrighty. Okay, who wants to go with their first question? I don't know if you want to raise your hand, or I can see people. Cynthia, if you want to ask your question.
Thank you. They were all stunning. I think they're all wonderful and in such different ways. So I had kind of a two-part question, and people can feel free to ask what they like, each of the artists. Is I was active in the arts years ago, and I'm an MECFS activist now. And I had not thought of how moving the arts could be in getting out our message. So I appreciate Emmy Action doing this, but all three of those spoke to really wonderful topics, I think. So I was wondering how, if any of the artists or the writers had thought of using their work in a way that it helps bring attention to MECFS. But more importantly, I'm a former writer and publicist who can no longer write easily. So I was wondering if they had any tips to share on their process, or if that's just one of the things, like I can sit up and do this, but I can't write. Is that something that just is one of the things you can still do? I was just curious because I know as for a lot of us, the simplest tasks take a long time, but I was so taken with all of them. I want to say thank you very much. Yeah. So anyway, those are just two questions. If either of the artists want to address those, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Una, I see your hand is written, so I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your writing process.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of using our writing, I would absolutely love to use my writing for the cause. I'm sure we all would. It's hard to know what to do with it, so if you have any ideas, please send them in. We'd love to hear. And in terms of process, it is difficult with no energy to do these things, but it's just, for me personally, I find it's really a question of having patience and recognizing it's going to take 10 times as long to do anything, and being okay about that, as okay as I can be about that. And also, Erin, in case you didn't see, E. Oliver had her hand up there as well, just in case you hadn't seen it. Thanks.
Yes. E. Oliver, if you want to ask your question, you might make sure to unmute.
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't know how to change my name. So I'm Emrys, and I had a question for all of the people who presented things. I noticed that Una said that she had a blog, and that a couple of the other people said that they had stories that they were writing. So I was wondering if there was any way that they could say what the stories were or what they're called so that I could find them, because their writing is absolutely beautiful. And specifically to Una again, I do art, and I was wondering if I could do an art piece based on some of your writing, because I just found it so moving, and I wanted to make a visual representation of it.
I'd be honored. Absolutely, yes, you can. Emma has just put the Pillow Writers website in the chat, which is where all of our work, or half of our work, is up there at the moment. And I'll put my own blog and email if you want to email me about that. I'll put them in. Did Gwyn or Emma want to say anything about those questions?
We should give a lot of credit to Bobby, who's very interested in seeing our work out there and representing ME patients, both locally in our own spaces. On, I think, every rehearsal we had this week, she told us, okay, now you're going to send this to your local newspaper, right? You know, she nurtures us along in our writing, but she's concerned to see our messages and the insights that we arrive at get out in the public sphere. So I want to give her a lot of credit for that, because I know she's got more projects planned for us to help do that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Am I unmuted?
If that's Candace, yes.
This is Candace. Sorry, I can't do too much light today, so.
No worries.
Yeah, here we are. And now I'm going to put that away. But just in general, first of all, thank you. How beautiful. My God. I think that as a former opera singer, and that was my world before Emmy, and, you know, obviously very tied to poetry and those types of things. And I've turned a little bit towards visual arts and towards a little bit of poetry. You know, what we do, we try to come up with ways of uh, being connected to the world still somehow. And I wonder. I'm guessing I'm not the only one. Certainly, and forgive me. Was it Emma, the last one with the suffragette story, or at any rate? So we had a poem that was more about ME at the beginning from Ireland, and Uma, maybe. Please forgive me. I know your names would be right here if I could have enough light to see them. uh, but I think I wonder if you guys go back and forth with this too. This feeling of how do I somehow convey the utter despair and gravitas and rage about Emmy and how completely life destroying and devastating it is, and the way we are treated, etc. How much of my energy that I have none of, basically, should I put towards trying to be an activist in whatever way, and try to make it artistic if you can, or is it just as good or sometimes better maybe, and it might just depend on each individual, if you create like a utopia storyline about the suffragettes, or you kind of like a Laura Hillenbrand has written a few little articles about her dealing with ME, but basically she's known for writing Seabiscuit and Unbroken, and so her struggle was to not be defined by her illness. You know what I mean? And yet, so I'm not always sure what to do with that either, because if you just say the word cancer, I don't know. I'm sure you all have many people that you know who have had cancer and have been active, even if it was fatal. They're 5 years, they weren't as sick as us until like the day before they died. And we're like this for decades. So somehow we don't, I don't know, if you struggle with that too, if it's okay for us to try to be more escapist, and maybe that's not quite the right term, but try to use our imagination and go someplace else, and take people with us there too. And then by the way, they happen to find out that we're sick, and maybe they'll be interested in knowing more about ME, but then it is so underfunded and so non-legitimized and so horribly, that sometimes you feel like, well, I don't know if I can afford to do anything other than try to raise awareness for ME. So how do you, as I'm not naturally a writer, how do you as writers kind of digest that and decide which way to go, both because we're trying to fight for our own life, the life of others within me that we love and who have needed to take their life already, and also we're fighting for our little soul in here that's still trying to be a person. Like you said in one of your poems, do I really exist? It's hard sometimes to feel like you're a person when you're so sick all the time. So,
Candace, can I jump in with some thoughts? This is Rivka.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think you bring up a really important question, and I think it's something that probably many of us struggle with, not just with our art and our writing, but just in our day-to-day lives, how much to focus on the illness and how much to try to have what shreds of regular normalcy that we can have. And I
Yeah.
don't know if there is an answer that anybody can give you, obviously, because we each have to make that decision, and it might change. So
Yeah.
for 1 month, we might go one route, and another month we might go another route. And I'm going to pass it over to Gwen. Gwen, you're on mute.
That was a quick handover. I think the answer to the question is probably found already in our daily lives, in the minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day decisions we have to make about the ways we are able. And in what ways will we apply the existing remaining abilities that we have to our own health and to the health of others through advocacy. I think what the three pieces thus far have had in common is that they're about power, and that we lose strength, that kind of power, and we lose a form of power in society. My poem was about the power that we lose in medical spaces at the hands of professionals who assume they have more power than we do. Emma's work, and Emma, please interrupt me, it's about the suffragettes, but that's about power and the power of women who are more overwhelmingly affected by this illness. And Una's readings, so much about reflecting on her own personal power when she's with herself as a person. But as we go week to week in our writers group, 1 week we might have enough power to just listen. Another week we might have a power to make comments. Some weeks we're just there to cheer each other on. And that's what I would suggest to everybody, is that decide for yourselves. What is the most important thing you have to do with the power that you have? And your own distinct sense of creativity, because what you've just seen are three completely different, kinds of forms of creativity that we all have within us distinctly. But there's no rule that can be applied to everybody. You know that. We all know that with this illness. So we can all support one another in the choices that we make uniquely to harness our own creative power to help ourselves and others. Thanks, Emma.
Oh, thank you for this discussion, everyone. Really appreciate it. I think it's such a wonderful conversation.
Emma had a comment? So I kind of called on her.
Sorry, I was just to say that we have a website, so you'll see that there is some poetry, there's some prose, there's articles about ME, but there's also the space that I was thinking about ME for artwork. So if, there are times when members of the group can't write. There's often times when we go, I couldn't write this week. But maybe they've done something else. We've got a quilt on there. We've got a work of Una's on there. So that if Emmy did do a piece of art about Una's poem, it would be lovely to have that, share that on our website as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating and asking the questions. We're a couple minutes over schedule, so I want to be mindful of the time and make sure everyone's gets a chance. So our next presenter will be another video from someone across the pond. It's Stu. And so let me just get his video up and running. And this is a poem called Bay of Hope.
The Bay of Hope. In bubbling run, diseases tide, strange, thick bow chains taut. Moored in midstream our vessels ride, waiting for a berth in port, for lines ashore. tramp, fatigue, in streaks of rust, signals port for aid, bunkers empty, save for dust, threadbare crew, unpaid, ship's purse is bare. The pilot is attention, care, who dawdles on the harbour wall. For richer trade, he turns his stare. Cancer's clipper gains his coal. He takes her helm. Woman rides mid-channel's rip, the foulest of the stream. Her bollards creak and hawsers whip, tossed from beam to beam. Even fatigue is harried less. She needs the pilot in her strait, but he pulls on his pipe. I doubt her need is quite so great. Stay a while, till she's ripe. And woman stays, unaddressed. Fatigue, woman, pain, despair, ride the tide which tears the bay, ebb and flow, storm and fair, fall and rise, night and day, anchored in the Bay of Hope.
Alrighty. That was an amazing video, and I think, if I'm right, Emma helped to edit it and make it. So I love that this whole community has come together. Quickly, I just want to give an introduction of who Stu is. He is from, and I'm going to completely butcher this, but it looks like Kinross in eastern Scotland, where he lives with his wife and 2 cats. He has had Emmy for 11 years. Stu writes wee bits of poetry and prose, a process which has been enormously encouraged by the warm weekly support of the Pellow Writers Group. Much of his inspiration comes from the landscapes around his home countryside, which features lochs, hills, fields, and farms. He also has a long-standing interest in sailing and the sea and loves the long tradition of maritime writing. And the Bay of Hope, which we just saw, is Stu's reflection on the way in which medicine, as it is typically practiced, is neglectful of illness characterized by fatigue, particularly in women. People with such diseases need to be guided by their doctors to a place of safety and security, in much of the same way as a seagoing pilot would be guided commercial shipping into port. And also he wants to give credit to Emma Parsons for the video editing. So I know that Stu is, because he's in Scotland and is currently not able to join us today, but hopefully if you share the comments and when we do a discussion, he'll be able to watch later, see everything. So thank you so much for that. And our next person presenting is Lisa. Lisa Geiser, if I hopefully pronouncing your lips. If you want to unmute yourself, you can come and speak and I will spotlight you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Geisler. I live in Northern California in a town called Lodi, which is at the edge of the Sacramento-San Francisco Delta. So there's lots of water and rivers around. It's also a winter home for the sandhill cranes. I want to say that I'm so grateful for this Pellow Writers Group. For me, it's both generative and a sanctuary, and it has become a beloved community that encourages me to write and create meaning out of living with ME. One of the things, I mostly write poetry, and one of the things that I do is try to write a line a day. So my line yesterday was just, someone was asking this. My line yesterday is deciding if each movement is worth it. And And that way I connect to creativity every day, even if it's just a very little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to do my first, I'm going to read 2 poems. This first one, it's called A Story of Resilience, and it's for my beloved, who is also disabled. So whoever has the energy to do things, does things, we take care of each other, and also we're able to fight bureaucracy, health insurance, all those things together, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. Okay. Story of resilience for my beloved. Sometimes I imagine us as Charlie's grandparents, the ones that didn't make it to the chocolate factory, lying side by side in bed, our bodies pinned down, like butterflies on a dusty display board for the last 18 years. We hold the center, despite the way our bodies have betrayed us, like Brutus, E tu corporis. On days when our bodies crumble, we become paper wasp, who slowly digest each hewed piece, then spit out rainbows. When life took my eyes, I grew back new ones, like a blue-bellied lizard after a ferret snatches its tail in its toothy mouth. And beloved, when you were broken, you built a suspension bridge with the metal scraps you salvaged on the ground around you. When sticks and stones dam our path like a river, we use our fingers and toes, clawing and churning until we find a new route. We become trees, growing through fences and rock, pharmacies and pianos, whatever gets in our way. We remind me of my old dog, Sari, half blind, her dirty tongue hanging out, circling and circling in front of her favorite chair, each time she tries to jump up. And when she regularly falls back down, she circles again and again until she finally makes it. Or is this just a story we tell ourselves to keep going on the long, languid days when our bodies play possum? Or maybe it's the story we precisely need to continue circling and circling until we are able to leap and we no longer need a story. All right, I'm going to read that one more time. A story of resilience. Sometimes I imagine us as Charlie's grandparents, the ones that didn't make it to the chocolate factory, lying side by side in bed, our bodies pinned down like butterflies on a dusty display board for the last 18 years. We hold the center, despite the way our bodies have betrayed us, like Brutus, E tu corporis. On days when our bodies crumble, we become paper wasps, who slowly digest each hewed piece, then spit out rainbows. When life took my eyes, I grew back new ones, like a blue-bellied lizard after a ferret snatches its tail in its toothy mouth. And beloved, when you were broken, you built a suspension bridge with the metal scraps you salvaged on the ground around you. When sticks and stones dam our path like a river, we use our fingers and toes, clawing and churning until we find a new route. We become trees, growing through fences and rock, pharmacies and pianos, whatever gets in our way. We remind me of my old dog, Sari, half blind, her dirty tongue hanging out, circling and circling in front of her favorite chair, each time she tries to jump up. And when she regularly falls back down, she circles again and again until she finally makes it. Or is this just a story we tell ourselves to keep going on the long, languid days when our bodies play possum? Or maybe it's the story we precisely need to continue circling and circling until we are able to leap and we no longer need a story. Okay, my next poem, let's see. I don't even think I'm going to try to get it up on the screen. That doesn't work for me. Okay, this one is called I Am Not Alone, and a big shout out to Emma, who gave me the title for this, since I'm not good at titles. I am not alone. It seems I can't get away from my smartphone. It follows me everywhere. A spy. It betrays me. A circus. All bells and whistles, catcalling for my attention. It haunts me, floods me, pulls me out in a riptide. Fake gold I spend all my time panning for. The postmodern matrix. Flurry handcuffs in hot pink. Often I look at it even as my lover talks to me. I scroll, I browse, I mutter, uh-huh. I need to Pavlov myself to put my phone down. And yet, in bed for hours and hours each day, my phone whispers stories in my left ear, crooning conversations in my right. Troubadours chorus my brain. Natalie Diaz comes for a visit. Sandra Cisneros stories me. Krista Tippett trumpets ideas. Pink peonies blossom inside me. My brain bees with delight. A difficult day passes in companionship. I grab the phone between my hands like a cherished friend and sing, gracias, gracias, mil gracias, and I am not alone. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Lisa. Thank you so much for sharing both of your poems. They were so wonderful. As always, check the chat. You're getting a lot of love for your first poem and the second one. I really liked using the phone as something stalking you and coming after you, because that is something in this day and age that we've all had to adapt and change to. So that was very fun to see it in a poem that way. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Our next person speaking will be Carissa, which I actually have a video to share. So Carissa, I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit before I play the video, or do you want me to go straight to playing the video?
Thanks, Erin. If you play that first, I'll do a little bit of an intro in between, but thanks for asking.
Perfect. I will hit play now.
This was the first piece. This was the first piece I wrote to share with the Pillow Writers group after I joined. I had noted several others sharing their haikus, and I felt this might be an easy way for me to dive in too. Little did I know how I would come to appreciate the strength in the shortness of the haiku and the complexity that can be introduced in the brevity. This particular set of ideas was sparked by another member who one week posed the thought of switching up the connotation of inaction and looking at it as a positive attribute. It made me realize there was much to appreciate throughout many previously overlooked or unnoticed moments in my days. This poem is called Being Still. While I watch the clouds, finding meaning in their drifts, I am most myself. Though I drink a tea without caring to rush on, I am still worthy. As I feel the sun warming the skin of my cheek, I can pause and be. When I listen close to the whispers of the leaves, I know I have learned. Then I sit, silent, able to manage quiet. I have strength few know. Let me repeat this for you. While I watch the clouds, finding meaning in their drifts, I am most myself. Though I drink a tea without caring to rush on, I am still worthy. As I feel the sun warming the skin of my cheek, I can pause and be. When I listen close to the whispers of the leaves, I know I have learned. Then I sit, silent, able to manage quiet. I have strength few know.
All right. Thank you so much. And Carissa, I will spotlight you and you can take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. And I just want to say thank you so much to Bobby for taking the time to coach me through that and the patience to record it. We had a couple technical glitches, so that was great. My name is Carissa. I'm from Ontario, Canada. So I'm our Canadian representative. Hi to anybody else up here in the north. I'm located near Ottawa, so that's on unceded Anishinaabe and Algonquin territory. And I can report it is gorgeously sunny here today, but not very balmy. We're rocking minus 20 right now and headed to minus 40. So I'm very, very glad to be in this cozy space with all of you. And that would be how I define Pillow Writers entirely. I joined last summer, I think in an effort to remember how to find my own voice after being through this experience that you've all shared in today, and practicing carving out that space in my life for myself amongst ME, fibro, and an autoimmune bailiwick. So my first piece was kind of an appreciation for what I've learned along the way, and I'm going to share a second one now. This is called Thoughts of Late. When I lie awake at night, I feel a world apart, like all the dark might never end, and that fear fills my heart. I yearn for comfort, calm, and peace to find me where I lay. Instead, it's pain and crushing thoughts that I must keep at bay. While others rest their weary heads and pause what's on their minds, I spin with worries on a loop. They dominate this time. Round and round like a carousel, the pattern turns and spins. I try to find my footing here, but my balance does not win. Light refracts and details tilt beyond what makes real sense. The fragments all cast shadows round and leave me in suspense. Will I ever get to live my life beyond this state? The burdens here build heavily and they bear a constant weight. Some say it's just anxiety or insomnia, perhaps. but they've missed the point entirely. This is not happenstance. Chronic illness is complex, a challenging web it weaves. And just because nighttime falls does not mean it leaves. Although my days are spent fatigued, a ghost, I haunt my life. That rarely means sleep comes with ease or alleviates the strife. So here, I must remind myself that this night too shall pass, that I am worthy of my rest, and I deserve for it to last. The worries may not go away. The pain might continue on, but rest can exist somewhere between my place now and the dawn. And until my slumber slips between my eyelids and my mind, it's up to me to soothe myself, to be patient, gentle, kind. I know that one was longer. Erin, do you want me to just leave it at that, even though it's a poem, or do you want me to repeat it?
It's really up to you. It depends on how we gave time for you guys to read them twice if you prefer to.
Okay. I'll go through this again. And I actually want to also thank Linda for encouraging me to put a title on this one. It took some time, but her encouragement kept coming back. So this is Thoughts of Late. When I lie awake at night, I feel a world apart. Like all the dark might never end, and that fear fills my heart. I yearn for comfort, calm, and peace to find me where I lay. Instead, it's pain and crushing thoughts that I must keep at bay. While others rest their weary heads and pause what's on their minds, I spin with worries on a loop. They dominate this time. Round and round like a carousel, the pattern turns and spins. I try to find my footing here, but my balance does not win. Light refracts and details tilt beyond what makes real sense. The fragments all cast shadows round and leave me in suspense. Will I ever get to live my life beyond this state? The burdens here build heavily, and they bear a constant weight. Some say it's just anxiety or insomnia, perhaps, but they've missed the point entirely. This is not happenstance. Chronic illness is complex, a challenging web it weaves. And just because nighttime falls does not mean it leaves. Although my days are spent fatigued, a ghost I haunt my life. That rarely means sleep comes with ease or alleviates the strife. So here, I must remind myself that this night too shall pass, that I am worthy of my rest, and I deserve for it to last. The worries may not go away. The pain might continue on, but rest can exist somewhere between my place now and the dawn. And until my slumber slips between my eyelids and my mind, it's up to me to soothe myself, to be patient, gentle, kind. Thank you.
You. As always, the chat is filled with a lot of love for both of your poems. So hopefully you get a chance to review them and see them. Also, I'm getting messages that possibly the people we're highlighting are appearing for some of us as the person highlighted, and for other people, Gwen was being shown. So, Gwen, if you're on, I have turned off your camera. I don't know if that has worked to resolve the issue, but if people are they're not seeing the individual who's speaking, you can choose the people or speaker version at the left-hand corner. I am spotlighting the correct speaker, but I guess there's a technical glitch that not everyone is seeing that person being highlighted. So apologies. But thank you. Thank you so much. So hopefully the comments, Carissa, you are seeing all the love. All right, our next person speaking is Diane Coleman. So if you are ready, Diane, you can unmute yourself and bring yourself, start talking, and then I know that you have asked me to share a couple of things, so I will, once you identify yourself, I will.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so I'll do my intro first, and then you can bring up the pic. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Diane Coleman. Feeling a little tired at this point, as many of you probably are after listening to all this wonderful work, but I will do my best. Anyway, I have had ME for 38 years, ever since I was in a PhD program in psychobiology and came down with mono after presenting my master's thesis. I live in Ithaca, New York now, where I am very fortunate to be surrounded by woods and natural beauty, from which I derive tremendous joy and inspiration constantly. So I actually did not really like to write before I joined the Pillow Writers group. But I had to stop doing the creative work that I was doing, and I thought perhaps joining the group might encourage me to channel my creativity through writing while commuting with members of my ME tribe, where I thought I would find mutual understanding and support, which I definitely have. It has been such an incredibly rewarding experience, thanks to the wonderful members of the group and to our incredibly generous, fearless leader, Bobby, who has stayed with us through all and encouraged us all. And I just want to encourage anyone interested to come check us out. So, okay, let me just take a sip of water. So, the haiku that I will read is based on my experience of feeding chipmunks over the past fall. So, Erin, if you can bring up the picture now.
Mm-hmm.
Chipmunk in my palm, single essence, different forms. Paw and hand are one. I feel your warm breath as you eat seeds from my hand, breathing together. Something sacred comes when encountering wild things, stirs my feral soul. Okay, and I'll read that one more time. Chipmunk in my palm, single essence, different forms. Paw and hand are one. I feel your warm breath as you eat seeds from my hand, breathing together. Something sacred comes when encountering wild things, stirs my feral soul. Okay, thanks, Erin. So now I am going to diverge from writing to show some of the work that I was doing before my illness got worse. Now I'll try to switch my camera. I hope I can do that. Let's see. How do I do that? Here we go. Okay. So I'm a collector of found objects, mostly rusted metal and natural materials, and this is a piece entitled Gaia's Shield / Eco Warrior, Gaia as in Earth Goddess. And I know it's kind of hard to make it out through Zoom, so I'll give you a closer examination so you can see better what it's comprised of. And it's all based on top of a large stone slab. So let's see, first here we have some raffia with rusted screws, some tree pods, a beautiful piece of rusted metal. I say beautiful, I know a lot of people consider this stuff detritus, but I think it's all beautiful. Here's some agate and some more stone, and a piece of machinery, a rusted keyhole cover. Here's some deer fur, and this really lovely piece of insect-eaten wood. And it's all sitting on a rusted circular saw blade. Here's some more pods, a small animal skull, some bullet casings with antler coming out of them on either side. Here's a large shelf fungus sitting on some more rusted metal and some pheasant feathers. And then up here we have a little winged creature sitting on a twig, and a wasp nest with some tree buds and rusted nails coming out of it. And then one of my favorite pods called Devil's Claw, which is so cool. And then some more rusted metal. So that's that piece. And let me flip the camera again. Hi, so the other thing I wanted to share with you are these earrings that I've made that come in different colors and shapes and are made from recycled aluminum cans. And I just want to leave you with a quick limerick. There once was a girl sick in bed after flu for which there was no med. Said the doctors, "Harumph, we appear to be stumped. We'll just say that it's all in her head." So thanks everyone for your time, precious energy, and attention. I so appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane. We really appreciate it. I hope you definitely get a chance to check out the comments for sure. Everyone is sharing a lot about you and your work, so thank you. From your poems to your art piece and to your earrings, there's a lot of love in the comment section. All right, hopefully everyone is currently on gallery view. I apologize immensely for the technical issues. Not sure what happened there. But we have about 8 minutes left until the closing of this salon. So I want to open it up again for discussion. Just a reminder, we saw a video from Stu called The Bay of Hope. Lisa spoke and shared 2 poems. One was a story of resilience. The second was I Am Not Alone. And then we had Carissa, who shared the video, which was the title that was Being Still. And I apologize, Carissa. The second poem, I have thoughts of something. I forgot the last of it. It was not on my agenda, so I apologize about that. But we have her second poem. And then obviously Diane just shared her first poem was titled Haiku, and some of her artwork and that limerick. So just being mindful, if you need to sign off, that is perfectly fine. You don't need to stay on for these last couple of minutes, but if you want to join us, we'll open it now to discussion. So thank you. Really quickly, before people start signing off, I'm going to put in the chat the next link to the event page to RSCP to join the Writing from Our ME group, the Pillow Writers. So I'll put a link to that event page so you can find the link to join an RSCP and connect with Bobby if you need to.
Erin, I also put a link in the chat for the weekly writers group. I know you can't see me because my camera's been turned off, but just letting everybody know.
Wonderful. Thank you. I saw it. Rivka, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to hear a little more from Bobby. Bobby, what is it like leading this group? I know you lead a lot of different groups, so what has it been like for you? You're on mute right now, to lead this group of people who are often coming bedridden and with stories that are, hard to hear. That's all.
I have enriched my ability to hear poetry. I'll tell you that. And I feel very, I don't know what, engaged in the writing process of how people can find metaphors to express everything. I mean, the beauty of literature, of writing, is one part that I have really gotten a lot out of the group. And the other part is our discussions, which are phenomenal. The discussions are amazing in the group, I have to say that. So I think in the group, people aren't focused on showing their pain, frankly. They're focused on showing their beautifulness. I understand, by the way, Stu has COVID. He's the one from Scotland. I didn't realize that. But I love the group, and I had planned not to be. I like to start things and then have them go away into other people's hands, and I'm not letting go of this group. And all the writing is so interesting, and I mean, you would be very impressed. That's it. Thank you for asking. Any other comments?
And for those of you guys that don't know, Rivka is Bobby's daughter. There could be people on this call who have not put that 2 and 2 together, but so I think it's just so wonderful. And there's quite a few, I think, contacts and family members and friends of for Bobby and Rivka's on this call. So it's wonderful to see you guys' support of this community as well. Are there any other questions or comments that we want to talk and hear from the people who shared? Emma, I see. Oh, I'm going to apologize if I pronounce this wrong. Gaynor M, I saw that your hand's up. If you wanted to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. You're close, and I get lots of variations of that name. It's unusual. It's pronounced Garter.
Okay.
I'm just really touched by everyone that shared today. I'm fairly new in terms of the illness, I suppose, just over 2 years or so, and still learning a lot about it. I'm just really grateful that I stumbled across this group. Like everyone here, my life changed a lot because I'm not able to work or really do any of the things that I was accustomed to, and struggling in life even before that hit. So it's definitely been challenging. So I'm inspired by trying to find a creative outlet, and really, really inspired by everything that everyone's really opened up about themselves and done it in their own original, unique, brave, and creative ways. I'm not. I also have ADHD, so my interests go in so many different directions. But music is something that's always really touched me, and I've been trying to find ways to turn that into an outlet to live with ME. My question, I guess, is everybody's words were so articulate and really captured what is it's hard to explain to society and hard to explain to medical professionals and even our own friends and family. When I have tried to explore creative outlets over the last little while, I find my short-term executive function and memory is so impaired that getting the universe of ideas out there is really challenging, from voice recorders to, just trying to put an idea out there. I forget before I can get it onto paper sometimes. I think it was Lisa who said that she tries to write at least one line a day. And I found that was a really good piece of advice. And I wonder if others who have written in these pieces and shared today can relate to that, or if they had any other advice for how they've managed to actually get what's in there out there when the mind that's trying to communicate this is like kind of crippled against itself. So thanks. That was a long-winded question, but I again, thanks to everybody for sharing, and it's really nice to feel like a human being amongst all of you and what you're sharing. If any help and strategies for that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Diane?
Diane, if you want to answer?
Yeah, I know you're mostly interested in music, and I don't have anything to recommend regarding that. But as far as writing is concerned, I would say that the haiku form is a really wonderful form for those of us with ME, because it's short, and once you start doing it, you'll find that they'll just start coming into your mind, and you can really convey quite a bit. Once you start doing it, you learn that you can convey quite a bit in just a few lines. So that's just one thing. I know that was really helpful for me in getting me started with writing. So that's just one tip I have.
Thank you, and that is a great tip. Once you've said it, I noticed the reoccurring theme of haiku, and it does make sense to work very well for that. And yes, I think any poetry or writing can be turned into music. So that is very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Good, you're welcome.
And also, there's a lot of comments welcoming you to the community, and so make sure to check those off as well. Alrighty, any other questions? I know we are over time, so if you need to log off, please feel free. Do not have to stay on longer. If there's one more question that someone wants to ask to the presenters.
Sorry for interrupting, but Lisa and Gwyn had their hands up to answer that one.
Lisa, please go ahead.
The other thing that I do is I'm the one that read the one about this having my smartphone all around. So if I have an idea or image or whatever, I just write that in my notes. I have a whole folder that's like creative. And then, because often I just, might get an idea or an image or something, I write that down. And then later I go back and look at what I've written down, and maybe a poem or a song or something come from that. So I'm pretty dedicated about trying to do that. Gwyn.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we're not doing this work when we're in a crash, right? We all know what happens when we're in a crash and how we can barely remember our own names, let alone think of an interesting metaphor. So this is definitely labor, cognitive labor that happens when we're able. Which is not to suggest that there aren't, like Lisa just suggested. I was also going to say, I use dictation on my phone, on my laptop. If I think of something and I just press the dictation button and I say it right away, just to record it, just to get it down. Because all of us with our executive functioning issues, we need to be doing those things anyway. So in fact, a lot of the strategies we use to help ourselves with these illnesses are a lot of the strategies we use to write. It's about wrangling our brains and making sure that what comes out of them actually gets committed somewhere before we forget them. So thank you for your question, and it's wonderful to see people so inspired and interested. Carissa.
Yeah, those were beautiful answers. The only other piece I want to dovetail, because actually what you said, Gwen, reminded me, which is part of the beauty of our group. Also allowing for the fact, I know I'll sit down sometimes to write a piece and I only have a few ideas. Things don't always flow, definitely don't flow the way they used to. But going back, I think that was one of the most helpful things, in letting some of that old stuff be braided back in to newer pieces. I think that's part of the artistic process, and it makes it beautiful and brings some contrast. I know in my own work, I've looked at some really dark stuff from the past that I'm now able to see through a different light. So cultivating your own work and having that appreciation for it too.
Emma's hands up, and then
I just said I wouldn't have written a word without this group. That's all I'd say. I would never have written anything, and now I've got quite a lot written. But it's only, I don't really feel like it's my writing. I very much like it belongs to the group. And I have conversations with people kind of not during the pillar, right? Individual people who've encouraged me and helped me and given me ideas and things. So without the support of the Pillar Writers Group, I would never have written a word. So it's been incredibly important to me, and it's given me a sense of being valuable, because it's one of the conversations that comes up week after week after week. People talk about how can I be of value to society. I don't feel like I'm contributing enough. I don't feel like I'm being enough. I don't feel like I exist. We're back to right at the beginning with Una's Ghost Girl. And this group makes me feel like I exist. This group, I bring my offerings of work and they make me feel like I'm valued and that I exist. And my tip would be to find a group of people that can make you feel like this group made me feel, because it's incredible and it brings meaning and value to my life.
So touching, Emma. So touching. And I mean, I am blown away by everyone who's shared today. I've seen other work that's been submitted that we put on our website previously, so it's just absolutely wonderful to see all that has come from this group. And I know the work is just, the end results are just one part of it all, which you guys have just shared so much about. Cynthia, I saw your hand up. Do you have one more question or comment? Or
yeah, besides thanking everyone, I think when Emma mentioned the word value, that comes up with Ben when I'm in activist thing. I mean, value is an important thing for us to always remember, that we have value. And it's hard, I know, as an activist too, because you have to tell your story how bad you are so people get it. But I think value is really important in any form. Whether it's like I'd love to find out what happens to the suffragettes next, Emma. It's like the whole, I think, we have value in many ways, but also as family members, as I'm on committees in my city, and I just happen to be a person with ME/CFS. So it took a pandemic, but I can now, also advocate for in other ways, like I used to with this same pillow behind me. So, but I was very inspired that maybe I will write again, But value isn't important to, yeah, I know. It's like just maybe, you guys. And the fact that Bobby and Rivka are related, I had no idea. So I'm such a fan of Rivka's that's why I came here, because I saw her share this on Twitter. I saw it was by Emmy Action. It was like a stamp, and you're just a wonderful, inspiring group to me. And I think that, it doesn't matter whether you're telling other stories or stories related to Emmy or nonfiction too. Gwen, the hospital, I've been there. So I just think this is really stunning. And it also made my brain start ticking as someone that looks for allyship for Emmy, that there was another approach to the arts besides celebrities endorsing, but it may well be the art within our community too that can shed light. So my brain's always ticking. So as I lay in bed. So that's why the first one, I thought of that. Dreaming is what dreamers do, is a line from a song. But I always think of that sometimes, that when we have MECFS, we do get to think broadly about anything, because we're stuck here, so sort of, and sort of not. So, but it was wonderful. I just wanted to say thank you to all involved, and maybe someday I'll pop in on this group. But thank you very much. It's just stunning work to all of you, and it does add another level of value is always where it's at, and we all have value, and it's so easy I think for me too. I've had this since 2009 to forget how much value we have in the world. So thank you very much. I need to pop off because I'm literally stuck on the pillows now, I think. So, but thank you to all, and I hope to see you again in this format. Thank you, Erin, as always, too. You just done. Your work is never lost on me. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Big round of the silent snaps and the claps. I know we are definitely way over, and I know people are dropping off, which is perfectly fine. Emrys, if you have one more question, and then I think we also got to make sure that all the presenters have a chance to also sign off soon.
I just wanted to, it's more of a comment. I'm 16. I got Emmy when I was newly 13. So just seeing people who have experienced it for longer and are still going and doing the things that I really want to do and need to do to just keep sane and keep myself alive is just not just inspiring but encouraging too. It's not just inspiring for the sake of inspiration. It's not feeling alone because you see other people like you. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that.
We see you, Emrys. Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Righty. Well, I haven't seen any other hands jumped up, but I just want to be honor of time as we are definitely over. But I always want to say thank you, everyone, for joining today. Thank you to Bobby, and thank you to all the presenters who shared your work. I know it takes a lot to be vulnerable to share your art, so thank you for that. Also, thank you to all of you who joined, who were to listen and be part of this community and provide a space for these people to share their work with. Thank you for that so much. The chat is just, I will try to download it and see how we can share it. I know we'll figure that out, but it is such a place of wonderful support. I think what, Emmy Action is such an amazing organization, and it's because of all of you who create our community, who provide stories and pictures and faces to this disease. I think it's just invaluable for what you guys bring to the community and what you bring to moving this, progressing it forward so that there, can one day be a cure. So thank you so much, all of you. I'm blown away every time we do one of these artist salon and also the Severe Emmy Artist Project by how much creativity and how much heart is in every single one of you. And so I'm just completely blown away. So thank you all. Bobby, I don't know if you want to add really quick anything to close, and definitely thank you to Bobby for creating this space.
No, I'll just give a heads up to Linda Carter, who has my back and creates with the group, both as a participant and as a leader. I just think it's lovely. Oh, there she is. There's Linda. Okay. Everybody's wonderful in the group. You'd just be surprised. And if you come and you want to be in the group, you'll become wonderful too. It's what happens.
Awesome. All right. Well, just to recap, the Writing from ME group meets every Thursday, I think at 11:30, if I'm not
11.
11 Pacific Standard Time. You can find the link to join on the event calendar on the ME Actions website. It is shared in this chat as well. Plus, also the Pillow Writers WordPress website has also been shared in the chat. I'm going to hit end on record. So again, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate it. And hopefully everyone has a good rest of their afternoon, evening.